Right, let's kick this up because it's going to be a very short webinar. So in this very short 1 hour sharing session, I would like to briefly introduce to everybody what anxiety is and how we can look out for its symptoms and what are the simple little things that we can do to help us manage it better. Okay. All right. So let's straight up jump to what anxiety is. Can I get the participants to share with me, what do you think anxiety is? So what does anxiety mean to you? Have you experienced anxiety before? All right, I see our first question, our first answer is coming in. Jackson said stress. All right, what about the others? What is anxiety to you? Okay, many is coming in right now. Joey said kanchiong. Okay, yep, that's a Cantonese version of nervous. All right, a lot of you say nervous. Some say feeling panicky. Some say worry. Some say overthinking. Oh, a lot of questions, a lot of answers are coming in. I don't think I can keep up with all the answers. But yes, I think anxiety is something that's very universal. I think most of you have experienced this before. All right, has anybody not experienced anxiety before? Can I get a show of hands? So in the fellow participant list, has anybody not experienced anxiety before? Any hands raised, Siuli? Because if there's any, I would like to ask for
looks
some.
like our participants are quite awake for your session, so they are really paying attention to what you're saying. Yeah, so far no hands raised.
All right. Okay. So I'm judging from the answers that's coming from the participant list, I can fairly assume that most of us have experienced anxiety in one way or the other, and most of you have got pretty much the right thing like what anxiety is. So the definition of anxiety is actually it's actually an emotion. All right, anxiety is an emotion characterized by feelings of tension, worry, thoughts, as well as physical changes. So some of you may realize, whenever you feel anxious, you feel very tense. Physically you feel a lot of other physical reactions, which we're going to talk about later. And so you have a lot of thoughts that are worry. I think just now in the answers in the chat box, I think a lot of you have mentioned worrying about the future, having a lot of worrying thoughts as well. So I guess most of you have already got it right lah. And anxiety can be caused by a wide array of reasons. It can be caused by high expectations, deadlines, public speaking. So it can many other reasons that can actually cause us to feel really anxious. Okay. However, I have a question that I would like to pose to all of you. Just now we really talked about what anxiety is, and most of you already agree, you've experienced anxiety before. I would like to ask you all whether do you think that anxiety and stress is good or bad? All right, so the question is anxiety and stress good or bad? All right. Perhaps Yuli can help me read up what are some of the hot answers in the chat box.
No problem. So some of our audience, Lynn has mentioned that it's good for improvement, bad for mentality. Okay. Kim says both. And actually a few of them have said it depends on the situation or it's both. So it can be good or bad. So it sounds like we have quite a balance between what is good stress and good anxiety, and mild stress and severe anxiety. So it seems like everyone's kind of 50-50.
Okay.
Depending on context. Yeah.
Oh, I think we have a very well prepared participant, as well as a very intelligent participant that's joining us here today. I think most of you all are getting it right, because actually anxiety can be good, but it can be bad as well. So it depends on the situation. I think I saw someone who said that, too little, a little bit of anxiety may be good, but too much, it may be very bad. I think some of the participants said that, which is
Yes.
which is true. because anxiety is actually a real and normal emotion that we feel during a stressful situation. And actually it's related to fear. So the difference between fear is that fear is a response to immediate threat and it quickly subsides. However, anxiety is a response to uncertain threats and usually it lasts much longer than fear lah. All right. And all this is actually, a part of the threat detection system that helps us to protect us from threats. Okay. So I think most of you got it right that anxiety is actually can be a good thing. All right. Whenever you are faced with danger or a threatful situation, actually your brain, right? Let's talk a little bit more science. Let's be a little bit more sciencey here today. Whenever your body detects or whenever your brain detects there's a threat that's in front of you or that's coming, the small part of your brain actually called the amygdala would actually trigger various response to your body. It goes to hypothalamus and hypothalamus will trigger many response throughout your body, such as I think most of you can relate to is elevated heart rates. Sometimes your muscles feel really tense and sometimes you feel really alert. And actually all these reactions, right, is actually helpful because all these are actually the fight, flight, or freeze response, you see, which is great when we need to fight or run, like you see in the picture here, like you are faced with, I don't know what is this, is this a tiger or let's just call it a tiger. If you're faced with a tiger, you have to either choose to fight or run away from the situation, right? Which is good. However, during situations where we don't need to fight or run, right? Anxiety can just make us tense up unnecessarily. All right. And I would like to explain a little bit further on how does anxiety affects our performance. All right. So initially, when anxiety is non-existent or when it's extremely low or very low, what oftentimes happens is that we are not driven and sometimes we feel rather inactive. All right. And due to this, oftentimes we may feel really bored and tired. However, when anxiety, when there's an optimum level of anxiety, we will come to this very sweet spot where we reach peak performance, as you can see in the graph right here. Our performance actually peaks when the anxiety is at the sweet spot. Okay. And this is also where we are most focused and most engaged with what we are doing. Okay. And I guess another example that I can throw out there is like deadlines. All right, most of us who are working adults, we all have our own deadlines, whatever deadline there is, we always have deadlines. And the reason why deadline exists is because I think in a way, it helps to create some anxiety for us. If there's no anxiety, we are not driven or we're not motivated to complete the task, you see. So whenever there's a little bit of anxiety in the sweet spot, it helps us to be more focused and engaged with our tasks so that we can achieve our complete our task by the deadline and many other things lah. So it helps us to be more focused and engaged. However, as you see from the graph that's in the screen right now, whenever there's too much anxiety and the intensity of the anxiety is very high, this is where we start to see, our performance, starts to falter and we tend to be really restless. This can also be seen as, when we are approaching breakdown. Okay. And what breakdown is that when we do experience breakdown, it is often manifested to, when you feel really tired, you feel very disorganized, you're being very disorganized and you feel a lot of anger. So going back to the initial question that I asked you all, actually, anxiety is a normal reaction, a normal emotion, and it's actually very helpful if it's at the sweet spot. If it's too much or too little, then it's going to be a problem lah. Okay, so anxiety, in the conclusion, is not all bad. Okay, so with that, so now we know what anxiety is, what it means, and how to get to the now we know that optimum level anxiety is really good for us. So we want to identify what are some of the symptoms of anxiety that we might face. And some of you, I have a hunch that some of you already know what are some of the symptoms of anxiety. Okay. However, I would like to categorize the symptoms to a few categories. All right, the first one being related to thoughts. Some anxiety symptoms that are related to thoughts is when you start to feel like you have this fear of losing control, such as losing control over a situation, such as a relationship, a financial situation, and etc. Have you experienced this before? Whenever you don't have control in a relationship or you don't have control over your financial situation, then you feel very anxious. You feel very stressed. You feel anxious. Have any of you experienced this before? Can I get can I get you all to respond in the chat box? If those of you who have experienced this before, can you say yes? Have you been in
some of
this
them are also raising their hands as well.
Right, right.
We have a few
right.
hand raises. Thank you.
I can see Feeling said yes with the capital, with caps lock on. Okay. All right. Yeah. So it's very normal. It's a very universal thing, right? Whenever we lose control of things, then we feel very anxious. Okay. So it can manifest in our thoughts. And other examples of anxiety symptoms are like fear of negative evaluation. We are very afraid of negative evaluation or negative comments from people around us. It can be from our boss, our family members, our friends, and so on and so forth. Okay. And oftentimes, another anxiety symptom is that we are having poor concentration. We are unable to pay attention, being unable to concentrate on the task at hand, and also poor memory. So these are some of the anxiety symptoms that are of the thought category. All right, moving forward, the next one is emotional. Some of the emotional anxiety symptoms is that, very common, obviously we will feel very nervous. Okay, like for example, like before you give a presentation or a talk, you feel very, very nervous. So like, okay, for example, like me right now, I'm here, I'm standing right here. I'm not standing, like I'm sitting down, but I'm having this talk right here with all of you all. I have a little bit of nervous feeling as well, but and a little bit of nervous feeling is actually normal, especially when we are facing an uphill task. However, when you feel overly nervous or you feel overly anxious to the point that it's affecting your daily life functioning, such as you are not able to work properly, you're not able to, when it starts to impact your social relationships, when it starts to impact your sleep functioning, your sleep hours, then it starts to get, it starts to be a problem, okay? Besides that, feeling scared and being very impatient. So these are some of the emotional anxiety symptoms that we oftentimes see whenever a person is feeling anxious, okay? The next category is under the physical category. I think this is the one where people are most well aware of, all right, because we can really see it happening. All right, the first one is heart palpitation. Whenever you're anxious, you feel like your heart is about to run, about to pop out, right? It pumps a lot of blood, it pumps a lot of oxygen, and actually all these are very, very helpful when you need to fight or fly. Your heart needs to pump a lot of oxygen so that you have enough oxygen to be able to run away. You have enough oxygen to to really fight whatever you need, like the tiger, for example. However, like I said again, sometimes the threat that's oftentimes in front of us is not life-threatening, so it becomes a problem when it happens too often and when it starts to, of course, affect our daily life functioning. Okay, so it's very relatable to us, right? So the next one is like you can see that you start to breathe really, really fast. Similar thing is to inhale more oxygen. Tense muscle is to ensure that your muscles, your body is ready to fight. Sweating is so because in olden days when you sweat, it helps to cool down your body. All right, shaking, and your stomach starts to feel sick. So these are some of the physical manifestations of anxiety. All right. The last category we can see is behavioral symptoms. So oftentimes, whenever we feel anxious, the person would either avoid the situation just like this ostrich right here, or escape, which is very normal, to run away from the situation, or this person will start to feel very, very restless, very, very tired, very restless, or having difficulty to talk. So this is actually under the fight, flight and freeze, right? This is under the freeze, where we freeze and we're not able to speak when we're supposed to. For example, like in a public presentation or a public speaking, whenever you're anxious, then suddenly you find yourself, freezing. Okay, so these are some of the symptoms that we oftentimes see in during anxiety attacks or panic attacks. All right, next we would like to share. So now we know already what anxiety is. What are some of the symptoms that we can be aware of right now. I think more importantly, something that we want to take away today is how can we manage. All right. So it's unlikely that whenever you're faced with a threat, right, it's unlikely for you to completely remove the feelings of anxiety. However, what we can do is to manage these anxieties so that they are managed to a level that's very, very much more manageable. So what I'm saying is that, say from a scale of 1 to 10, if you're feeling at a scale of maybe 8 or 9 in the scale of 1 to 10, and you feel anxious at a scale of 8 to 9, what we are going to do today is, the goal here today is to reduce the level of anxiety to maybe a 3 or 4. So whenever it's a 3 or 4, it's not so much, it's very much more manageable in that sense. Okay. And I think the very first way that we can deal with anxiety is actually simpler than you think. All right. So the very first tips that I would like to share with all of you all here today is actually what we call deep breathing relaxation. And some of you may already start asking, okay, how is this different from just breathing normally? What's so special about deep breathing relaxation? So actually, this calming breathing technique, right? It's very helpful for not only anxiety but also stress and panic attacks, and it takes just a few minutes. And at the same time, you can do this anywhere. It's proven by many research to be very, very helpful at calming down your body, okay. And of course, you will get the most benefit if you do it regularly as part of your daily routine. Okay, so I would like to share how you can do deep breathing relaxation. Okay, and before we go into that, I would like to invite everybody here at your very own comfort zone or comfort place to take a deep breath in. Okay, sorry. Before that, can I get everybody to put one hand on your chest and one hand on your stomach? Okay, so just like the picture, one hand on your chest and one hand on your stomach. And I would like to invite everybody to take one big breath in and let me know whether does your chest expand more or does your stomach expand more. Okay. And whenever you've already done that, you can share with me in the chat box. All right, take a deep breath in and let me know whether does your chest expand more or does your stomach expand more. All right, Jerry and Jingyuan said stomach. And some of you said chest, some said stomach. All right, so we have a mixture of both stomach and chest. Okay, so can you all guess which one is actually the proper way for deep breathing relaxation? I'm not saying that either is right or wrong, but we're now focusing on deep breathing relaxation. Which one is the proper way? Okay, actually we don't have much time, so I'm just going to share with you all the answer. Actually, the proper way for deep breathing relaxation is we want to focus on inhaling and expanding our stomach more. Okay, so the proper way of deep breathing relaxation again is to inhale and focus on containing the air on your stomach, expanding your stomach, and as you exhale, you would like to exhale slowly through your mouth. Okay, so you inhale through your nose and focusing on expanding through your stomach and expanding your stomach. And as you exhale slowly through your mouth. Okay. So with that in mind, I would like to invite everybody to just do this simple exercise for the next minute or so. Okay. And it's very easy. You can just follow this GIF right here. Okay. But I would like to encourage you all to continue putting the hand on the chest and stomach just so you know which one is expanding more. Okay. So as we follow the GIF, I would like you all to inhale through the nose again and exhale through the mouth. Yeah. All right. Take a deep breath in. Hold. And exhale through your mouth. Take a deep breath in. Hold. And exhale through your mouth. One more time. Take a deep breath in. Hold. And exhale through your mouth. All right. So have most of y'all noticed that your stomach is expanding more now? If you are, can you just give me a hands up? Okay. So the proper way of deep breathing relaxation is to, again, inhale through your nose, focusing on expanding through your stomach, and exhale slowly through your mouth. Okay. So when you do this for a few minutes, it helps to calm down your body. So this is the simplest method that you can do anywhere. Whenever you feel anxious or whenever you feel stressed, just go to a corner that you feel safe, go to an area where you feel safe and do this. And this is the easiest technique lah. All right. So the next way we can manage anxiety better is to actually use this 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 grounding technique. Okay. Anxiety is something that most of us have experienced at least once in our lifetime, if not many, many times, right? And this 5-step exercise can be very helpful during periods of anxiety or panic because it helps you to ground to the present moment when your mind is bouncing between various and anxious thoughts. Okay. However, before we start this exercise, it's very important for us to pay attention to our breathing. So we want to incorporate what we learned earlier, the deep breathing relaxation, into these grounding techniques. Okay. So I would like to do this activity, just a quick run through of how we can do this activity, and we'll see how it goes. Okay. So it's important, again, to incorporate this with your deep breathing technique that you learned earlier. Okay. So whenever you feel anxious, whenever you're experiencing a panic attack, or whenever you're overly stressed, this technique, when we do this, it helps to ground us back to our present moment where we are at right now and how we, of course, with that in mind, you want to do this in a place where you feel comfortable or when you feel safe. Okay, for various reasons, right? Okay, so once you get to a place that you feel comfortable and safe, this is what you can do. First, I would like to ask you all to acknowledge 5 things that you can see around you. But because we are using this as an exercise right now, can you share with me in the chat box, what are 5 things, that you acknowledge and you see that's around you? Can I get some of you to share with me? What are some of the things that you can acknowledge and see? All right, Jingyan said computer, obviously, right? Because that's how you're attending this webinar. Thank you. Thank you, Jingyan. Lin said bit. Ayo, 5 bits. All right, Lin, I think that's a bit of a cheating right there. You have to acknowledge 5 different things, not just the same thing, okay? All right. Some of you say water bottle. All right, somebody said phone, notepad, mouse, pen, water bottle. All right, thank you all so much. So these are things that you can acknowledge and see. Right now, we want to engage on another senses, which is your touch sense, your skin. I would like to invite you all to acknowledge 4 things that you can touch around you. All right, and be aware of that sensation as you touch the thing. All right, it can be your computer, it can be your pet, you know. Acknowledge and be aware of the 4 things that you can touch. Can you all share with me what are some of the 4 things that you are touching right now? All right, Siuli is participating. She said her mouse pad, you know, it feels very soft. Norazlina said table, paper, mark, and pen. Okay, all right. Not just touch them, guys and girls. You want to be aware of that sensation as well. All right. All right, Lynn said bed, keyboard, mouse, and bottle. All right, thank you everybody for participating. All right, next one, we want to engage another, now we want to engage our hearing. Acknowledge 3 things that you can hear around you. All right, what are 3 things that you can hear around you? And I have a big feeling that some of you or most of you are going to say my voice. Right, see? Roxas. Thank you. I hope my voice has been pleasant. All right, Jessica says she can hear her breathing as well. All right, okay. Norazina says can hear a colleague chatting and my voice. All right, thank you all for being so participative. All right, next. I want you to acknowledge 2 things that you can smell around you. Or if you can't smell at the present moment, maybe 2 things that you just smelled a few minutes ago. Acknowledge 2 things that you can smell right now or a few minutes ago. Oh my, Siuli is having nanke. She's truly enjoying her tea time. Okay, Lynn can smell from bed. Okay, that's good. I hope it's a good type of smell. Jingyuan said satay and curry. You're making me very, very hungry right now. Jackson as well. Joey said candle fragrance and green tea. That's very nice. All right, thank you all for sharing. Oh, I see you all are having really good food, some of you. Okay. All right, lastly, acknowledge 1 thing that you can taste around you. What is 1 thing that you can taste around you? Of course, don't go around tasting things that you're not supposed to taste, like maybe dirty things, like, you know. All right, we have water, tea, Rabina. Sweetness in my mouth. Wow. Sally, what did you had earlier that makes your mouth so sweet? All right, Jackson is having vitamin C. He can taste his vitamin C. Oh, Sally had candy. Very nice. Okay. So of course, due to the limitations of time and everything, we're not able to fully do this 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 grounding technique properly. But the idea is that to actually engage in all your 5 senses and to bring your body back, both physically and mentally, to the state where you're at right now, which is safe and being grounded back to where you're at right now. Because whenever we feel stressed, anxious, or whenever we have panic attacks, oftentimes our mind will like go running from here, from north, south, east, west, and sometimes we're not at where we are at right now. Okay, so it's very helpful if you are able to use this 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 grounding technique along with the deep breathing relaxation that we learned earlier. So oftentimes when I do this with my clients, I'll get him or her to close their eyes, do the deep breathing relaxation technique, and then when you move towards grounding techniques, open the eyes and start doing this 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 5 things that you can see, 4 things that you can touch, 3 things that you can hear, 2 things that you can smell, and lastly, 1 thing that you can taste around you. Okay. Simple enough? Is it so far? Is it very simple? The tips to manage anxiety? If it's simple, say hurrah. If it's, I don't know, if it's hard, say I don't know, boo-hoo. All right. I think most of you find it easy lah. I see a lot of hurrah coming in. Hurrah. Okay. Let's move forward. we don't have much time. Okay, so next is actually self-care. So this is one of the way that we can manage our anxiety as well. But I would like to first ask you all, what does self-care mean to you? Before I go into the, okay, the full definition is there already, but just right off the bat, what does self-care mean to you? When I say the word self-care, what comes to mind? Okay lah, Hian Heng is my good buddy lah. Eating good food, that's my self-care also. Very, very nice. All right, some of you said love yourself before you love someone else. Okay, this is very selfless. All right. Kim Kong said self-care to him is alone time. Halima said loving self. All right. Jackson spa. Ooh, it's been a long time since I've been to a spa. All right. Jing Yuan is probably our fellow Suli's friend, shopping. So Jing Yuan probably follows the 11, 11, 10, 10, 12, 12, all the sales lah. Coming up is 12, 12, right? Jing Yuan, you gotta be prepared for that. Okay. Lin said having a good sleep, and Jerry said exercise. All right. So these are all like some of the activities that. So these are self-care to each and every one of you, right? But what does WHO say? I forget to actually quote WHO. So this definition that I'm about to share is actually from WHO. According to them, self-care is the ability of individuals, families, and communities to promote health, but not only that, prevent disease, maintain health, and to cope with illness and disability with or without the support of healthcare provider. Okay, so it's a very lengthy definition, but essentially it's about preventing disease, maintain health, and to cope with illness and disability. Okay, so the key takeaway that I would like to share is don't only do self-care when you are burnt out or when you're really, really anxious already. All right, so you want to consistently and continuously do self-care to promote health. See the keyword there, promote health and to prevent diseases as well. Okay, and this is essentially what we call the mental health self-care wheel. So self-care, as you can see from the chat box, you know, the different category of self-care that's coming from the chat box. All right, but we can categorize them to 6 different categories. All right, so there's the professional, physical, psychological, emotional, spiritual, and personal. All right, and the thing about self-care is that it's very personalized, I would say. And what I meant by personalized is that everybody's own personal self-care can be different from one person or to the other. Okay. And an example that I like to share is that if, say, I find fishing a very relaxing activity, an activity that is my personal best self-care. However, to another person, fishing may be something that's a personal hell to them, okay? Because there's a lot of mosquito, you know, it can be like, oh, you know, wait there for 6 hours and there's no fish, and it can be very stressful to another person as well, okay? So what I mean by personalized is that, you know, what is self-care to a person may not be self-care to another person. So it's essential for us to actually explore on what is our own personal self-care. So oftentimes I always invite my clients to actually create their own self-care wheel. Okay, so you can see this wheel here right now. They have their own very own example. Okay, let's say for example physical, that's like exercise, getting a massage. I think one of the participants said spa as well, so that will be under the physical aspect. Then you can see, like, let's say for example professional aspect of self-care. You can see, you know, learning to say no, setting boundaries, taking annual leave, so on and so forth. All right, so it's very important for you to explore what self-care works for you, and to probably, you know, create your own mental health self-care wheel. Okay, and not necessarily you need to have every single category. Some people are, say for example for me, I'm more towards the physical aspect as well as personal aspect. Okay, to Sully, maybe, I don't know, she can be more professional or more spiritual, for example. Okay, so you don't have to have an equal amount of self-care activity lah in every single category. It's just a bonus if you have more different category of self-care lah, right? All right, next. Say if all else fails and all else, whatever that I've shared earlier, the deep breathing, relaxation, the 5 4 3 2 1 grounding technique, having your own self-care routine, self-care wheel. If all this still doesn't work, or you feel that, the anxiety, or in general, the mental health situation that you are currently facing is out of hand, maybe, hey, you want to consider seeking professional help. Okay, and those of you Korean drama fans out there, I think most of you are aware of this drama called It's Okay Not to Be Okay. And I think it's very important for us to acknowledge that, okay, that it's actually okay for us to be struggling with something. It's okay for us to not be okay in that sense. Okay, and seeking help is actually, it doesn't mean that you're weak. In fact, it's actually a sign of courage, because having the courage to seek help is not something that's easy. All right, so I would like to believe that seeking help is a sign of strength, and not what some people may consider a sign of weakness. Okay, and sometimes we could use someone who can help, a professional that could help us and guide us in the struggles, our daily struggles, the struggle that we are facing. Okay, you see, okay, I would like to ask you all, when you all are, okay, let's say when you have flu, or when you have diabetes, or when you have high blood pressure, who do you go to? Can I get some of the participants to share with me? Do you go to, I don't know, do you go to your, all right. I think most of y'all will answer either doctor, or like what Jackson answered, Zhong Yi. Zhong Yi is a Chinese practitioner, Chinese medicine practitioner. All right. Okay, see, it's very normal for you to go and see your doctor and your Zhong Yi specialist, or whoever the medical practitioners, right? So it's the same thing with mental health as well. How come we normalize seeking help for flu? Every time you see, okay, let's say your children has flu, or your colleague has flu, say, oh, let's go to see a doctor. We normalize that. When you have diabetes, let's go get dialysis, let's go see the doctor. When you have high blood pressure, let's go for medical checkup and stuff like that. We normalize that. But however, when it comes to mental health, mental disorder, we oftentimes like, hey, there's something wrong with you if you seek help, which is not the case, because it's just as real as a diabetes. It's just as real as having a common flu. It's a condition that's treatable, and I think we as a community, we have to normalize seeking help, professional help. All right, and seeking help actually doesn't have to be scary. Because sometimes people may be afraid, seeking help, everybody would know, or I don't know, like maybe the practitioner, the therapist, or the mental health practitioner will be very scary, which is oftentimes not the case. I wouldn't say 100% it won't be scary, but oftentimes when we really take our first step, when we go meet the professional, these professional would do their level best to make sure that, hey, to explain everything to you, to make sure that you are in a very comfortable situation, and to actually be there for you, which is similar to other health professionals as well. Okay. All right. Yeah, I think we can see a comment from Yuri. She said that oftentimes a patient feels that it's a shameful event to seek a psychiatrist. Yeah, so oftentimes this is some of the stigma that we face, all right. But however, our goal, not only as an organization, but the whole community, the whole country, the whole world, in fact, we will want to normalize seeking professional help as something that's, you know, not shameful, as something that's not weak. You know, it's something that is normal, right? Okay.